Alright, so today we're talking about the Texas Chain Saw Massacre game, the one from 2023, obviously not the Atari one. I think those are the only two games. Anyway, before we get into the rest of the video, I'd like to mention that my Steam game, Laser Rush Reloaded, has a demo available to play right now. Shoot, climb, slash, dash, jump, slide, and ride into the most intense roller coaster of a movement shooter platformer that you've ever played. Experience challenging, chaotic combat and high-stakes platforming at the same time. Fight at top speed and laser rush. This game is kind of a strange one. Sometimes you're getting a very satisfying chainsaw kill after tracking and cornering a victim you've been hunting. Sometimes you're making a very narrow escape with the killer right at your back till the very end, with some of the most genuine tension I've felt from a game. At these moments, the game's exactly what you want from the Texas Chain Saw Massacre game, but these moments can be too far between. More often, you're getting killed at spawn as a victim because for whatever reason, Leatherface and the victims spawn relatively close to each other, and you'll be like the person in the movie that dies so everybody else can get away. Sometimes, if you're playing as a killer, you can spend the entire match and barely ever see the victims because they're really good at hiding and no one remembered to feed Grandpa, which is a thing we'll talk about later. And then between games, you'll have to wait a good while for the lobby to fill up because you need all 7 players. And then once you get 7 players, there's always exactly, for some reason, one person that will just refuse to ready up until the last second. And then somebody will leave at the last second. And when there's not enough players and the timer runs out, the lobby just kicks you out and you have to start all over again. This game's got some bad lobby problems. So in a lot less words, this game can be really great, but at times really frustrating. So let's dig into the gameplay. Firstly, I want to say that this game has only text tutorials. Gameplay tutorials really need to be standard for these asym horror games. I believe Ilphonic did gameplay tutorials for Predator Hunting Grounds and Ghostbusters Unleashed, Spirits Unleashed. You know, they're getting it. Everybody else needs to. This game doesn't tell you the simplest things, and you really just gotta mash buttons and figure it out. It doesn't even tell you how to run, which is hold LB for killers and tap A for victims. You can look up the controller layout, but still. The victims do have fairly good stealth gameplay, with sneaking around the killers, hiding in dark shadows and tall grass while the killers walk by feels really good. You can find bone shards to sneak attack the killers in the back, which stuns them for a bit, but it's kind of hard to pull off and usually comes at the cost of someone else getting hit. Unless you're setting up a bait situation with a friend, you'll need to loot around for items that will help you get to the next area or just be helpful. The looting and searching is alright, but you do really need to learn the maps in this game. The victims have decent, different, and unique skills. The big guy can occasionally hit and stun the killer, and one of the girls can occasionally persevere and take less damage for a bit. Although there is one girl whose skill is just lockpicking without a lockpick, which just isn't very interesting, even though it is kind of useful. I also like how, even though this game doesn't really have a story, you can pick out the different horror archetypes. Who's the tough guy? Who's the final girl? That's fun. There's decent character upgrade systems for both the killers and the victims, but to be honest, it is more in depth than it probably should be. Not that it's overcomplicated. The killers also have fairly good gameplay. Chasing victims is fun, and it's even funner to land that killing blow. And the maps are designed fairly well so that chasing is balanced for the killers and victims pretty evenly. The killers also have a good variety of abilities, like traps and poison. Leather has some pretty unique chainsaw mechanics that are really good. You have to rev the chainsaw to keep it on, as if you weren't just going to rev it just for fun and intimidation. You can also rev it extra in order to get it going faster and cause more damage. But if you rev it too much, then the chainsaw will turn off and you have to start it up again. Leather can also destroy chase breakers like these barriers and crawl through holes. I'd say Leather is definitely the funnest character to play as. The killers do also have this thing where they have to feed Grandpa in order to like power up his like occasional echolocation power thing he does, which is one of the few weirdly video gamey things in this game. There's also like a perk that says decrease chicken detection radius. Feeding Grandpa blood can feel like a chore, but it is necessary to make the killers gradually stronger and also to make them less focused on the victims at all times. The aesthetics are really good, and true to the movies, many areas within the levels are replicas of the actual sets, although some of the areas that aren't replicas do kind of look like a deliberate maze almost. But this is definitely necessary for gameplay, so it's fine. I would normally say that the game has some areas that are too dark at points, but the shadows are definitely intended to be used as and work well for hiding victims, so that's another thing that's fine. Overall, this is a decent game, but the teams need to be pretty close in skill level for it to be a great one. Winning easily is fun, but short-lived. Losing quickly doesn't feel fun, obviously, but a close game can feel really, really fun. So I'm giving this game an 8.02. Now, with that being said, a lot of this game is like a 6.5, but you get like these spikes of like a 9 out of 10. So that's sort of what you should expect. And this game does has kept up its player base fairly well. I played it recently, didn't have more trouble than usual finding a game. So I think I might recommend picking up this game if you're a fan. And definitely check this out if you have Game Pass. That being said, I am a bit worried about the future content of this game going forward, because apparently the people only have the rights to the first movie, which sounds familiar to the Friday the 13th situation, and it seems like they don't intend to get the rights for the other movies. They want to make original content. Two of the killers in the base game are already original characters, and they fit in fairly well with the Chainsaw universe, so I think they could make some good stuff. The problem is that me and a lot of other people would definitely like to see some of the stuff from the other movies. We want to have chainsaw duels in Texas Battleland. We want to play as Robo-Leg Matthew McConaughey. We want to do that silly Chainsaw Beyblade move from the Netflix movie. Overall, I do think this game will probably be alright going forward. Hope it is. Thank you to anyone who likes, comments, or subscribes. That's it.